Let's have ourselves and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I glorify your name, Lord. We honor you, Father, in this place, Lord of glory. Come and take possession, Father. Father, we are saying that we are nothing, Lord of glory. Our knowledge is not enough. Father, come and express out yourself, Father, in this meeting, Lord of glory. That whatsoever we are going to receive, Lord of glory, it shall pertain of eternity, and we shall not forget.
Okay, thank you so much for the word of prayer, and we want to welcome all the schools that have joined in. Thank you so much for joining. Allow me to welcome all the teachers that have joined this call, but allow me to invite the Principal Education Officer to say something and then to officially start off this session. Mr. Ronald, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Kaziba. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the teachers who have enabled us to be here, and also to thank the language teachers who are going to lead on this session. Thank you for accepting to collaborate with the rest of the schools. And thank you, everyone, for joining this collaborative effort. I hope we shall all learn together, and may this pay off well in our final examinations. With that, I want to declare this session open. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ronald, and thank you so much for those remarks. Teacher Winnie, you are most welcome, and kindly you can take over.
Thank you so much, Teacher Stephen and Mr. Dungu. Thank you for the opportunity. I welcome you all to this English language facilitation. Thank you so much for joining in. And I want to thank the person who led us in prayer. We really thank you so much. So here we are, we begin our facilitation. English language, whatever we are going to look at is not so new to us. I'm sure you already know the changes in this curriculum. It is no longer a new one because we have had exams before. It is no longer called the new curriculum, lower secondary curriculum. So it is the curriculum that we are getting used to by learning, relearning, and unlearning. So thank you so much for joining in. I hope I'm loud and clear. Network these days is a bit a challenge to us, but let us pray that we go up to the end without network issues. Yeah, my name is Language and Literature. English language, we have two sections that you already know, Section A and Section B. And our Section A is summary writing and comprehension, item 1 and 2. And then we also have Section B, which has item 3 and 4. And item 3 and 4 is either functional writing or creative writing. When we are dealing with those items 3 and 4, one of the two must come from the same. We cannot have item 4 as functional writing or item 3 as creative. So what does that mean? That when you read the first item, when you read the scenario and the task at hand, and you realize that it is creative writing, that means that also item 4 will be creative writing. If you read one of them and it leads you to functional writing, it means that both of them require functional writing. So you have to take note of that. We cannot have different, they have to be the same. What does that mean? That means that you must understand the scenario and the task at hand for you to be able to comprehend and tell whether it is a functional writing that is needed or it is creative writing. So you have to be very careful when you're choosing your response, because your response has to be in line with what the scenario and the task requires. So we are first of all going to look at summary writing. In summary writing, we have two sections. We have the summary structure and then we have the summary content. When we talk about the summary structure, we are basically looking at two things. We are looking at the title and the paragraphing. Now, for you to earn a score, you must have written a correct title. And I will tell you what a correct title is. You must write a correct title and you must have one indented paragraph. That one will earn you the 3 scores for summary structure. One thing you have to know is that if one of the structures is wrong, you score 0. So that means that you have to make sure that you have the two. You have all the two correctly written. You must have the correct title and you must have one indented paragraph. So the title, I always emphasize that we must write the title in capital letters. I will not talk about the title case. Fine, the title case is considered, but somehow along the way, you might forget to write in the title case. And so that means that you will not do what? You will not score. I emphasize capital letters. Dear students, let us use capital letters for our summary title. It will save us a lot. So have your title written correctly and then have your one indented paragraph so that you get all the 3 scores. Now, if you don't do that, you're going to get 0. You score 0 for a wrong title, an incomplete title, or title written in small letters. And then also a title with gross errors. You know, when we are writing, at times candidates tend to create their own words. Those are the gross errors that I'm talking about. You change the meaning of the word. That means that it will be a wrong title. Much as you have written it in capital letters, you will not earn any score. So you must make sure that you write both titles, both in the rough and the fair copy, in capital letters. When I talk about the incomplete title, if the task requires for us to summarize the causes and effects of corruption in our country, and then you write causes and effects of corruption, and then you end there, you have not written the definite article at the beginning. When you leave out that definite article, it means that your title is wrong. Therefore, you must ensure that your title is complete. And we get that title from the task at hand. When you have the task, it is very easy for you to get the title. So you begin from where the definite article or the indefinite article is. It might be the, it might be an, it might be a. So that means that those ones have to appear in your title. So unless in the task they are not there, if there is no article in the task, then you can leave it out. But as long as it is there, you must include it in your title for you to be able to score the 3. And then written in small letters, I've encouraged you to use capital letters. Even if you write in small letters and you underline, you'll not get any score. So you have to take note. Of the paragraph, and we are saying that it has to be 1 paragraph. It has to be 1 paragraph. And also it should not be a block paragraph. When you write a block paragraph, you score 0 for summary structure. Where your teachers score your work and they put essays, that is summary structure. So that means that you do not write a block paragraph. That paragraph which begins right at the margin. That is what we call the block paragraph. So you'll not score. An indented paragraph is where you leave some space from the margin. I want you to get your index finger and you put it right from the margin using your right hand. That first line on your index finger, that one should be, you put a dot up so that you estimate how the space that you leave from the margin to show that it is indented. Where you put that dot up, that is where your paragraph should begin from. And then there are some of us who use paragraphs right from the middle of the page. That is wrong paragraphing. So make sure you leave just small space, and I've told you get your index finger and put a dot up where the first line of your index finger is. That should be enough. That should be enough space to make an indented paragraph. And then you will also score 0 for skipping lines or disjointed paragraphs. We use continuous prose when we are writing a summary passage or a summary response. That means that after a full stop, you begin another sentence. Now, if you after a full stop, you have some space on that line, and then you ignore that space and you go to the next line, it means that you have disjoined your work or you have created another paragraph. So you will not score for essays for summary structure. And of course, I've told you in case one aspect is wrong, you will lose all the 3 scores for summary structure. So that means that you have to be keen. And also one thing you have to put in mind is about the full stop. At times when candidates are writing, they put a full stop at the end of the title. That is a title. It is not a sentence. So that means that you do not put a full stop after the title. And I've emphasized also that the article must appear in the title. So that is about the summary content. Do we have any question about that, or rather summary structure? Is there any question about the summary structure? Can we move on? One thing you should never do is to underline capital letters. Once you have written your title in capital letters, do not underline it. Do not underline it. And I've also told you that if the scenario, if in the task you do not have the article, then it is okay. You may leave out the article. But as long as it is included, you have to put it there. So whoever has a question, you can write in the chat. Joanna, you have a question? Hello? Can we move on? Joanna, you can write your question in the chat and I'll get it. If it's about summary structure. We are now going to the summary content. Summary content. So summary content, we expect a candidate to score 6 from the summary content because the whole item 1 has 9 scores. Yeah, someone is asking, is it a must to write a title in capital letters? Yes, it is. You must write the title in capital letters if you want to score the 3 for summary structure. When you're writing a title, you do not put it in a paragraph form. You can begin your title from where the lines begin from the margin, going the other side. You don't need to paragraph your title. We don't have specific words for the title in summary because the number of words in the title are determined by the task at hand. So we do not have specific number of words for the title. You write according to the task at hand. It is okay, you can start writing your titles from the margin. So I think I can continue with the summary content now. So summary content, we know that the first sentence while you're writing your summary response must have a subject. That subject must appear in your first sentence. The subject is what the summary is all about. If you're summarizing about corruption, we expect that the word corruption must appear in your first sentence. So it has to be there. Short of that, it means that you're going to score half, not a full mark, until we come across the subject. It must not be a pronoun, like I've said. There is no way you're going to begin your summary response with it. Pronoun it. It is. No. We expect that summary, we expect the subject to appear in its noun form. If you're summarizing about Ebola, the word Ebola, the causes and effects of Ebola, then the word Ebola must appear in your first sentence. And then we are saying that each sentence must be complete. A complete sentence. Some of you have the tendency of breaking up sentences. But one thing I must tell you is that one sentence can have 4 points. You can have 4 points, and that means that you're going to score 4 in just one sentence. And then about the commas. One sentence must have a maximum of 2 commas. And those 2 commas give us 4 points. The 2 commas give us 4 points in one sentence. Are we together? And then we are saying that you must avoid spelling errors. Some spelling errors change the meaning of words. They change the meaning of the sentence. So that means that you have to be keen when you are writing. Write the words the way they appear in the passage. We are also saying that as you're writing out your summary content, do not use contractions. Words like don't, can't, shouldn't, didn't should not appear there. That means that you have to write them in full. Say do not, did not, cannot. So do not use contractions anywhere in your summary response, because those ones will also make you lose scores. Then while we're writing, we normally have hyphenated words. Those passages have hyphenated words. What you may call small dashes, okay, between the words. Those dashes that make the word compound to be a compound word. Now, when you leave out that hyphen, it means that now you have turned the compound word into a simple word. So you will score 0. You will not get the scores for that sentence as long as you have left out the hyphen. And then you should not outline your ideas. Like I said, that you have to write complete sentences. That means that you do not outline. And I've told you that after full stop, you begin the next sentence. Right after the full stop, you do not go to the next line. And let us practice that by putting it also in by putting it in also the rough copy. Some of you outline ideas in the rough copy, and then when it comes to the fair copy, you do not have time to complete your work. So what you do, even in your rough copy, make sure that you do the same. Write out your indented paragraph so that if the fair copy is not fair enough, and if you're lucky enough, then the rough copy will be considered. But make sure you have both copies. Okay. And then you also do not begin your sentences with verbs. When you begin your sentence with a verb, it does not count for a complete sentence. You can begin your sentence with the subject. And when you begin with a subject, the next sentence, if that next sentence is also referring to the subject of the summary, then you can use the pronoun it or they. It depends on the subject. If the subject is in plural, then you have to use they. If it is in singular, you can use the it. But also you have to be sure of the subject. Some of you use it throughout till the end. You're bringing in points, but these points are not for that subject. For example, if you are looking at poverty, the causes of poverty. We may have poverty as a subject, but we also have some poor people. That means that you're not again going to refer to poverty, when you're talking about the poor people. It means that you have to bring in some people or poor people. We have the poor, we have the very poor. Now, if all those ones are in the passage, and then for you, all through it is poverty, 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 you're using it instead of again bringing in the poor people or the very poor. It means that you have changed the subject. You have used the wrong subject and you will end up not scoring. So before you use the pronoun it, you've got to be sure that it is connected to the previous sentence. It is about the previous sentence. They have the same pronoun. Otherwise, using it throughout your passage, throughout your summary response may lead to scoring 0. And then we also say you have to punctuate your sentences correctly. Sentences begin with the capital letters and end with full stops. I've seen candidates who begin their sentences with the small letters throughout. There is no capital letter at all, apart from the first sentence. After a full stop, you begin with a small letter. That is very wrong. You're going to lose your scores. So begin your sentence with a capital letter and end it with a full stop. Now, when we are writing the summary response, at times we tend to introduce the causes of Ebola are, then you put a semicolon or you put a column. That is wrong. When we are writing the summary response, we do not put a semicolon or a column. Actually, those two should never appear anywhere in your summary response. Make sure they do not appear anywhere in your summary response. That one alone will help you, it will save you. But you find people putting semicolons or columns. Even if those columns are in the passage, please, while you're lifting your answer, do not go along with them. Leave them. Do not use them at all. Then you have to use the correct tense. I think you're already aware that we get the tense from the task at hand. Most of the tasks, you'll find that they are in the present. It is either the present simple or the present perfect. If it is the present perfect, it means that you have has and have somewhere as you're writing your response. If it is the present simple, please let it be. At times you'll be interfaced with a summary passage which is written in the past tense. But again, the task is in the present. It means that you're going to change. You're going to change that tense from the past to the present as you present your answer. Then after writing your rough copy, you are not going to cross it out. Do not cross out your rough copy. Just leave it the way it is. And then you write out your fair copy. Also, when we have the two aspects in one summary, when you're changing, when you have the transitional word, if you're going to use however, or on the other hand, a comma must follow. It is mandatory. However, comma, it means that you must have that comma. It is mandatory. Most of you forget it. And then in some passages, we have qualifiers. And these qualifiers must appear. For example, if we are talking about some people live in poverty, then we have many people live in poverty. And then we have few people. I think those three are different. What does that mean? That when you have a passage, a summary passage, where you must, where there are qualifiers, you must put them there. Several, many, some, few, or a few. They must appear in your response because they tell us the degree to which something is referred to. And then we have said, do not use capital letters or small letters in wrong places. There are some of you who put capital letters even in the middle of a word. You write a word, it has both small and capital letters. You write a sentence and all of a sudden there is a capital letter and yet the word is not even a proper noun. Now, for proper nouns, you've got to make sure that they begin with the capital letters. But as long as the word is not a proper noun, then you do not use the capital letter. And then avoid using abbreviations. Do not use abbreviations in your summary response. Make sure that you write the words the way they appear. These days we have a lot of slang, social media has really taken root. And some of you have a way of communicating using abbreviations. So those abbreviations should end while chatting with your friends on phone. But as long as you're doing an exam, then you've got to write the words in full. They should appear the way they are supposed to appear. And then in case of two aspects, for example, we have the effects, the causes and effects of Ebola. You must show that you're changing from the causes to the effects. And that means that you must have a transitional word. The easiest word for us to use is however, because it's just one word. And remember, we have to put in mind word limit as we write. One thing I can advise you to do is that when you get your summary passage, first read the scenario and the task. After reading the scenario and the task, you write the title. Write the title before you even read the passage. So you begin reading the passage, and when you're going for the paper, the English language exam, please carry a pencil along with you. You will need it. As you're reading the passage, you identify those points that respond to the task at hand. That means that you're going to underline them. underlined them using a pencil. When you have underlined them, it is going to be easy for you to write them out in the rough copy because you already identified them. Now, for two aspects, if the summary is for two aspects and you're reading your passage, if we have causes and effects, we have now the C for causes and the E for effects. As you read, when you come across a cause, you put a C. When you come across an effect, you put an E. Why? So that as you write out your response, it is easier for you to identify how this is the cause. I'm first writing the causes, and then after, I will come up with the effects. That one will help us a lot when we are writing. Now, when we are writing, when it comes to counting words, we do not count the title. We begin counting words from the first sentence, the first word that appears from your indented paragraph. That is where we begin counting from. Now, we have ranges when we are giving scores, but it also depends on the passage. You will realize that you will get these scores. You will get, if you have 13, I'm giving an example. If you have a passage and then the scores have been rated from 13 and above, well-presented ideas, you score 6. From 9 to 12, you score 4. And then from 4 to 8, you score 0, 2. Then 0 to 3, well-presented ideas, you score 0. That is how we normally rate the scores. For you to get 6, you must have presented your ideas from 13, or it can be 12, depending on how many points you have in a passage. They might be 20 or 22 points, and then we rate them at that. From 13 and above, you get 6. From 9 to 12, you get 4. From 4 to 8, you get 2. And then from 0 to 3, you get 0. So you have to take note of that. We do not count full stops and commas, members. Those are not words, are they? I want to believe that you know that those are not words, they are symbols. We only count the words. Now changing the words or adding in more words in your summary passage may cause you problems. You must be smart enough. Otherwise, we encourage you to lift. Lift wisely. Lift the words, the sentences, but wisely as they appear. Otherwise, you will not be able to score if you keep on changing the words in the summary. You count words one by one. You're going to count your words in your rough copy. If the task says in about 100 words, in about, when we say in about, it means that you have 100 plus 5 words. That is in about. But if it says in not more than 100, it means that the maximum should be 100 words. You count words in your rough copy, and if they exceed the required number of words, then you've got to count those excess words, and then you go back and read through your work and see those points which do not count, which do not respond to the task, and cancel them. That is why I told you carry a pencil. All that is done in the rough copy. If you have 20 more words, you're supposed to have 105 words, but you have an excess of 20. It means that you're going to read your rough copy again. And whichever word you cross out, you count. So that when you make 20, you're good to go. You can write your fair copy. So I think we are now at the end of our item 1. Unless there is a burning issue about item 1, the summary item. In summary writing, we do not score the skill of creativity like someone is asking. We do not. We don't need creativity there. We only creativity should be in your section B. And then you do count. Do you count word by? Yes, you count word by word until you reach the required number of words. Pronouns are words and they are counted. You should not use columns and semicolons. I still emphasize that. Leave them out as long as you're dealing with a summary response. The number of words must reach. If you write less words than needed, then you know that you have left out more points. So you go back and read the passage again. There is no way you can ask for 100 words and then you only have 65 words. It means that you have left out more points. So you have to go back and read the passage and you get more words. The penalty for not having a transitional word, you score half. You will score half, and in case there is another error, you score 0. I say that when we are writing the title, we can begin from the margin, going the other side, not in the middle. Having less words like 98, 96 is okay, as long as you've exhausted all your points. That is okay. Words with hyphens are counted as one word. It is one word because it is a compound word. So someone has said self-esteem. If self-esteem has a hyphen in the middle, then it is counted as one word. You'll have to use one indented paragraph, even if there are 2 sides, even if there are 2 aspects. We do not count the words in the title. Okay, there Isabel, maybe you help me with those ones who have put up their hands and they ask a question or 2, then we move on.
Okay, those that have their hands up, you can unmute. I've given you the rights to.
Article A and they counted as words, or I want to understand it more. And how many paragraphs are required for you to make up your summary? Thank you.
Okay, thank you
Hello.
so much. We only need one paragraph. One paragraph, and then also the article. We said that the article has to appear in the title, not anywhere. That the article is in the title. If you read your task and the task has the title, it has an article. It means that you also have to put that article there. And we said it is one indented paragraph, even if the aspects are two. Yes.
Hello.
Can we have another person? Yes, please.
I would like you will be crossed if you outline points in the rough copy. And also, like in fair copy, words like the and this one, it is these ones, if you can count them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The first was about outlining words in the rough copy. Now, I said it is important for you to outline, to write in paragraphs, even in your rough copy, instead of outlining. But I said that when you outline and you don't complete your work, it means that you will be penalized. We do not give you a full score for outline the ideas. You get half. Then the second question was about counting words. It is. Those are words. They are counted. Even I is a word. So they are counted.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Winter High School.
Hello?
Yes, please. Arua SS, you can ask.
Say that don't you said that do not outline ideas. Can I write and give explanations? Then instead of using it throughout, what should I use to avoid that constant use of it? Since you said we should use not more than 2 commas, can we use only 1 comma?
Can you use what? I've not got the second one. The last one. Arua SS, can you repeat the last statement? Okay, for pronouns, when you're writing your summary, in order to avoid monotony, like I said, every passage has its own setting. There are some passages where you'll find, and I gave an example of poverty. If the passage is about poverty, we may have poverty as a subject. But at the same time, you'll find that along the way, they are talking about the very poor. Now, you're not going to use it, because somewhere they are talking about people who are poor. That means that you're going to lift that statement, the very poor lack what to eat. you're going to lift that whole sentence. When you use pronoun it throughout, that monotony, you may find that some sentences that you have put there do not apply to that subject. What do you have to do? When you're reading, like I said, when you're lifting the points from the summary passage to your response, you have to lift them wisely. You must know the subject of that sentence. You must think twice. If you're going to use pronoun it, you must think twice. Is this pronoun related to the previous sentence? If it is not, then you go back to the passage and you see the subject for that very sentence. Of course, when we are writing, we do not repeat that very subject throughout. You cannot say Ebola, Ebola, Ebola throughout. No. But different sentences will have different subjects. Okay. Make sure you have both the rough copy and the fair copy, because we mark the fair copy. But you must have the 2 copies. There is no condition that will require you to have 2 paragraphs, members. Dear students, the summary item has 1 paragraph. So we are going to the next item, and that is item 2. And I told you we do not count symbols. I can see someone asking, is the comma after the transitional word like however also counted? No, we do not count that because it is mandatory. You must put it there after the comma. So we do not count it. There is no condition where you'll have 2 paragraphs. Dear Koboko, we only want 1 indented paragraph. Only 1. And I told you we use continuous prose. After the full stop, you continue. After the full stop, you continue writing. Yeah, you can write the number of words after your summary. It is okay. You count and then you write them there. It has no harm. Okay? So you'll get the work after. Do not worry. Let us go to item 2. I think I've answered most of the questions in item 1. We said there are only 2 commas in one sentence. 2 commas in one sentence. I think some people came in late. So we go to item 2, which is comprehension. And comprehension has its own scores. These scores, one thing you have to know is that they are not permanent. It will always depend on the task at hand. So do not cram that AI has to be 3 and then EC is 4. It will all depend on the task at hand. So, but one thing you have to know is that it is out of 29. Maybe if it is changed this year, but it's out of 29, and that is comprehension. So when we have a comprehension passage, we expect an item about EC. We expect the grammar usage. We expect the character analysis. We expect intention or feelings. We expect opinion. We expect advice or lesson. So, what do we do? You can start by reading through the tasks. When you read through the tasks, they will give you a picture as you're reading your summary, your passage. When you read through the tasks, you can come across the answer, and then you write it there as you read. Now we have grammar usage, and we are saying grammar usage is the ability to give a clear and meaningful sentence, which has to come from the passage. Under this, we expect that a candidate can write a grammatically correct sentence. It can be from direct or indirect speech. It can be from passive or active voice. It can be from adverbs, adverbs of time, of the verb to be. And we have to make sure that you visit the grammar aspects for you to be on a safe side. Normally, this grammar will task you two sentences from the passage and you ask to join them. That means that you have to punctuate the sentences correctly. You have to punctuate your sentence correctly. For example, when it comes to direct speech, if it is in indirect speech, if the task given is in indirect or reported speech, and then you've been told to write the actual words of the speaker, that means that it is direct speech that you have to deal with. And we expect you to have quotation marks. We expect you to have the reporting verb. So that means that you have to punctuate your sentence correctly. That is basically about the grammar usage. And your sentence must have a comma at the end, or a question mark, or an exclamation mark, depending on the sentence that you have written. Short of that, you're going to score 0. If you have put wrong punctuation, or you don't have a punctuation mark at the end of the sentence, or you have spaced words that are not supposed to be spaced, or you have joined words that are not supposed to be joined, you score 0. So that is grammar usage. And then explanation of content. We have what we call EC. I'm sure when your teachers are marking, they put those abbreviations CE that were now EC is for explanation of content. They are testing you. Can you read and respond? Can you explain? And here we expect that you have the knowledge after reading the text. You have that knowledge so you can explain. If you have not explained, maybe you can give the meaning of a word or phrase from the passage. So it is either an explanation of content, or it is giving a meaning of a word or phrase from the passage. Meaning that you have to take note of the word class, and then the word class and the the tense. When you've been given a word, it means that you have to explain that word in its form, the way it has been given to you. If the word is in the present tense, then you also have to write it in the present tense. If you're giving the meaning has to be in the present tense. And then we are saying take note of the spellings and then the tense. That is very important. It is very important when you are answering that EC, the explanation of content. So you explain the points and state relevant examples from the text, not real life. Or some of you explain and then you give examples from school or from the real life. You have to make sure that your examples are in the text. That is one thing you have to know. Everything must come from the passage. And you have to write complete sentences. And you must know a complete sentence means that it has a full stop. So that means you must put a full stop at the end of the sentences that you write. And then we have the CA. The CA is the character analysis. Character analysis. We expect that you give the character traits of the person in the passage. You give the traits and then you also expected to give a justification for that trait. If you say that Amina is loving and caring, assuming that Amina is in the passage, you have to give us reasons as to why Amina is loving and caring. So when you give a correct trait and then a correct justification, you end up scoring 0.06. So when you're reading the passage, you have to concentrate on what the writer is speaking about that character, or what others are saying about that character, or what the character is saying, and also what the character does. That one alone will help you to get the best character traits of that person. When you say the person is callous or is selfish, or the person is greedy, or you say that person is arrogant, you must explain why do you say that person is arrogant. And that explanation must come from the text, from the passage. We have said to avoid describing physical appearance, because you have read about someone and then you do not like the way that person behaves, then you don't just say a person has a big head or has round eyes, no, he has a crooked forehead. You do not use physical appearance when you're describing character. And also avoid negative statements like James is not sensitive. What would you say? If James is not sensitive, it means that he is insensitive. So you can say James is insensitive. And then you give the explanation why you say he is insensitive. But avoid using not. If you are asked what the character you admire, what would you say? You have to base on values when you're giving character traits. If, for example, you have a passage about a boy who escaped from school, or influences others into taking drugs, and then that is the person you have admired in that story sincerely, you're not going to earn any score. You're going to get a 0, because it means that you've not learned anything from that passage. You've not got any values from it. So you have to state your traits. And of course, if there is someone you admire, then you have to go back to the values. That one who has behaved well, that one who is spoken good, the way people are speaking good about him or her, that is the person that you should admire, who is kind-hearted, who is kind, who is honest, who is courageous or brave. But you do not start admiring people who are dishonest, who are impatient, who are short-tempered, who are quarrelsome, who are impolite. You do not have. So when you're answering these questions, you have to look at the values. And then we are saying that avoid abusive language. And then we have some of the character traits that you can use. The examples, I gave both a positive and negative. They are there on the screen. Isabella, please go to the next slide so that people can see the character traits, examples of those traits. So those are some of the examples of the traits that you can use, but like I told you, it all depends on the passage. After the traits, we have opinion or prediction, the OP. Here we are saying you're free to give more than one response. So, but you have to express your views in line with values. In line with values. So your opinion should be relevant or realistic. And it should show a positive change in character or situation. So you have to take that in mind. And we are saying negative opinions or predictions will not score. If someone has, like we have that passage, you have traveled and then along the way someone comes and joins you, maybe the bus is so full, and then has his turkey, and then the turkey droppings go on your shirt, and then you're like, what would you do to that person? And then you're like, I would kill that person, or I would beat him up, Those ones, we do not expect you to do that. When you beat the person, is it helping? It is not. So that means that you have to answer. Maybe you would tell the turkey owner to put the turkey in a box or in the boot so that it does not what? Put its droppings on the passengers. So when you say, I would kill, I would fight, I can, beat up that one, those ones do not score. Remember, we are teaching you values. We are not teaching you to be bad children. Isabella, we go to the next about a device. So we are now on a device talk lessons, and we are saying that we draw these lessons from the text. Advice can be given in form of proverbs. We can give in form of proverbs, wise sayings, the lessons, or you can also advise. So one can say one should know that hard work pays. And then you give the reason as to why you say hard work pays. What has happened in the passage? that has made you say hard work pays. And then we are saying do not state the lessons. You should not just state the lesson as you wish. If a lesson has no justification, you will lose the score. I think you have to put that in your long-term memory, that every response you give, you must give a justification. And of course, the advice and lessons, these are checking on your morality as a child, as a student. Are you morally upright? And it should be positive. Okay, I'm sorry about that. My network went off a bit. So I was talking about advice and lessons, and I'm saying that the advice should be constructive. It should not be violent. If you're advising someone in the passage, and you say, that one you beat up to death, then that is not a constructive idea. We have, there are some whatevers I've given, some examples of how you can state lessons. Isabella, you can share them. So those are some of the ways, some of the examples that I've given you. I've stated, and then I've also given examples. You must have the examples. Okay. So we go to intention, stroke, feelings, the IF. We know very well that feelings are aroused. When you're reading a passage, there is something that happens. Yeah, or the feelings. I don't know if there are some people without feelings. There are those who are incapable of loving anyway. But when you're explaining feelings, they have to rhyme with the writer's intention. And then we said inappropriate feelings do not score. So that means that you must have appropriate feelings. And when we are talking about intention and feelings, we are trying to examine the writer's intentions and also the reader's feelings. So instead the no feeling and proceed to illustrate very well using examples from the passage. Positive feelings towards characters that do good. And by the way, saying that I feel good, that is a common error, that a common mistake that people make. I feel good. I am feeling good. How good? And you say that girl is bad. How bad? You state exactly what you want to say. Now, negative feelings towards characters that do bad. Those are things that you have to take note of when you're doing the IF. So if you have incorrect answer, you score 0, of course. If you only state a feeling without a justification, I mean, you should be able to state why you're feeling like that. If you have admiration of a character, why? Why do you have that admiration? Why are you excited? Or why are you sad? If it is fear, why? If you're disappointed or there is a character in the passage who is disappointed, why do you say so? So it is very important that you do what? That you state the justifications for the feelings. That is important. And then also state the correct feeling with a correct explanation. Excuse me. If you have a correct feeling and a wrong justification or explanation, you score 0. If you only state a feeling without any explanation, you still score 0. So you state and then you give a justification. And we've also said that you must bring out feelings that appeal to the heart, not to the body. That is very important. So I've given some aspects of feelings. Isabella, you can share. Do you have those feelings? The aspects of feelings. It is not right to say I feel angry, but you can say I am angry. That one is okay. But you don't say I feel this, I feel examples. I can, and then I give the reason as to why I am sad. And of course, this will depend on the why am I sad? Again, don't be a sadist. One who is sad because others are happy. So can we proceed? We are through with section A. We are now going to section B. I hope we are there. Section B, item 3 and 4. We score 6 for all, 6 for formatty and style, 6 for content stroke relevance, and then 6 for conventional language. So I will start with formatty and style. So now this one has to do with creative writing, format and style. We need, for you to score for title, you must have a correct title and written in capital letters. Okay, Isabella, can you go back to the slides for feelings? There we are. Those people who have not gotten the feelings, they are there. But we are also going to hurry up because we have limited time now. So those are the feelings. So you can say I'm disappointed in the woman who does the woman for stealing poor Jenny's phone, which was her only hope. That is an example. You can say I hate Juma, and then you give a justification why you hate him. Then you say I can say I sympathize with Mary's mother, who struggles to pay school fees, and yet Mary keeps on sneaking out of school with her friends to go clubbing. I am disgusted. I am angry. Why? You mentioned the reason as to why you are angry. I am sad. Why are you sad? I am surprised when Mary goes out with her friends, and yet she comes from a Christian family. You're trying to give the feeling and also the justification that brings out that feeling. Can we now go to section B? Someone had requested for that slide. That's why we went back. Isabella, go back to formatting. Slangs are not allowed. Do not use slangs anywhere, please. You get the justification from the passage. That's where you get the explanation. When you're explaining, you get the explanation from the passage. Back to section B. And then this is creative writing. We have the title, and we are saying that a correct title in capital letters. The title must be less than 11 words. By the way, fascinating titles are less than 5 words. A good title will have 3 to 4 words. That one which is eye-catching and captivating. So, students, please get nice titles, captivating titles, which do not exceed at least 5 words. The titles that are really eye-catching do not have a full sentence. For me, much as we say not must be less than 11 words, even the 11 words are too many per title, to be sure. So you can get a title of 3 words, 4, or at most 5. And then we are saying that the title must be related to the scenario and, of course, to your story. And we score a title by after reading. After reading the story, that's when we can score to see if we really deserve 2 or 1 or 0. We go to the next, and then we are saying that you will score 0 for title when there is no title, or the title is wrong or irrelevant, or it is not connected to the scenario, or it is written in lowercase. If you write your title in small letters, you're in trouble. You will not score. So what you do, just make sure that your title is in capital letters. And then also we have a score. It should be 2. We have also scores for the introduction. You will be able to score. Some of you write stories and there is no introduction. That is wrong. So your story must have an introduction. And then we have the paragraphing. You also have scores for paragraphing, members. If you have written a story and you only have 1 paragraph, then just know that you, out of the 6, you now have 4. So make sure that you have paragraphs, and we have said indented paragraphs are a must, and a paragraph should have 3 to 8 lines. If you're telling a story, it should be 3 to 8 lines. And we are saying that each paragraph focuses on a single idea. Some of you write and everything is in 1 paragraph. That is wrong. And you must have a smooth and logical transition. And also that change of setting. If in your first paragraph we are outside the field, and then that means if your story is still flowing and then from the field you went somewhere else, setting, the characters, and also the ideas, those things change. So it means that also your paragraphs have to change. And then in case of direct speech, you should punctuate it very well. Remember, these are not your words. If you want to say what your mother said, if you want to quote exactly what she said, then you have to put it in quotes. If he says, "Get out," mother said, it means that you're going to punctuate. But some of you write as if it is another indirect speech, yet it is direct. And then my mother said, "Get out." And then I did do it. And then, you keep on narrating where there would have been direct speech, you're just writing as if it is reported. So you have to quote. And then we have said that you'll get 0 on paragraphing if your ideas are disjointed and have no connections. If your direct speech is not indented, you're going to get a 0. And if your entire writing a full page and a half with just 1 paragraph, and also block paragraphing. So you have to do what? We have conclusion. Your story must have a conclusion. Every story comes to an end. But some of you write stories and they never end. You don't even see how it ends. Sorry, my network had gone off, but I'm now back. So I've said that you have to wrap up. You have to resolve the conflict of your story. How does it end? You don't just hang up and then you leave people to start guessing how it ends. So that is about the format and style. Remember, we have three. We have three three, the FS, the CR, and then the CL. Now we are going to the CR, the content. When you have a scenario and a task at hand, always endeavor to see that you understand what is expected of you before you write anything. So you must show that you have knowledge. And when you're writing, you have to stay focused and relevant to the task. You have to give us the details. You have to write with evidence to the topic of discussion, what you're writing about. But some of you write and then it's like you've not understood the scenario. At times, actually, you write and then we wonder whether you really read the scenario at hand. If you don't understand the scenario, it means that you're going to get you're not going to get scores for content or relevance. So you have to make sure that even your coverage is adequate enough. When you're writing, some of you write only half a page, quarter page, just to know that you're not going to score. You may end up losing out on the 6 scores. So what do? At least write 1.5 pages. Write 1.5 pages. It will save you. If you're to write little, then it has to be a full. We have the CL, the language. The language should be clear. We expect that you use figures of speech and active vocabulary. All these ones will earn you a lot. Those ones asking whether you can use proverbs. Yes, you can use proverbs. You can use sayings. You can use metaphors. You can use all kinds of figures of speech. It is well. And again, we don't expect you to have errors in tense. You know, when you're narrating a story, you're telling us something that has already happened, something you experienced. And what does that mean? That means that you have to use the past tense. Unfortunately, some of you use the present tense, and that is wrong. And then you have to punctuate your sentences, you have to write correct spellings, and you must see to it that your sentence construction is okay. We also expect original compositions. Some of you are good at copying, at cramming. You read a textbook with a nice composition and then you cram word by word and then you pour it there on paper. We want to see your creativity. So that means that you write your own composition and then of course avoid monotony in expression. So we are saying that in case you respond to a task with functional writing instead of a composition or narrative, you score 0 for formatting. And unfortunately, not format alone, but also the language, because some of them will not be in line with the what is needed. The language of Minus is not the same as the language for report, and will not be the same as the language for data. So you Hello, members. My network went off, then I couldn't unmute myself. I'm sorry about that. So I hope you have grasped what is on the screen. About the narrative composition. So that is basically what you're supposed to do. Isabella, go to the next slide. So we're telling you to write the title of your story. And of course, the title has to be in line with what you want to say. The language in the first sentence, in the first paragraph, should capture the reader's interest, and they should encourage him to read more and more of your story. What you write first is what will encourage the reader to continue or to stop. And I have given you several ways of starting a story. You can begin by describing the atmosphere of the weather condition. And I gave an example. The moonlight was bright. It bathed the village in beautiful ambience. The trees stood in solitude and marked the village pale and blue. Everything was asleep, and there you continue. That was an example. So we can begin by describing the atmosphere. Or we can start by a dramatic or action-packed introduction. For example, I rolled, twisted, and turned my crimson blanket. I used my sense to get the chronometer, which was perched at my duvet. It was already late. I scampered out of my cozy divine and so now that one is unpacked introduction. When you have a captivating introduction, the reader will want to continue reading to see what happens, what is next. So always endeavor to see that your introductions are eye-catching, they are captivating enough. Or you can start by describing activities that were taking place at the moment. I was on my cozy bed reading my favorite novel, The Grief Child by Lawrence Daman, when the quiet environment was disturbed by a barrage of gunshots and wails of frightened children and women in the neighborhood. That one also captivates. Or you can also start with a flashback. It was 5 o'clock and I was hungry. A bag of chips sat on the counter. There was nothing in the refrigerator but a few wilted carrot sticks and limp stalk of celery. Temptation struck me. So what happened? The reader will want to read on to see what happened. And then things that you should avoid when you're writing your story. We are saying avoid using clumsy expressions such as once upon a time, or long, long ago, or a long time ago, or it was one day. Most of you, one day, it is always that one day. That is how you begin your compositions. That is wrong. Instead, we can start your description of the most important character in the story. For example, Naka was so beautiful a girl that she could ring bells. She had become only milk and honey in the desert. She usually brightened my days with her glowing smiles. She was the only one I could. You're trying to describe the character who is in your story. That one is also good. So you can start practicing such, and then you can start with a dialogue or a figurative expression or quotation or proverb. Here we are. You lazy girl, up to now you have not finished cleaning. How long will I put up with your sluggishness? My mother shouted at me. I dropped the broom and sulked as So a good story should have items of merit such as idioms, apt vocabulary, figurative expressions, phrasal verbs to spice up your story. Make sure that your story is spiced up. It will make you score. And then we said ensure correct punctuation, paragraphing, spellings, and grammar. At the end of your story, the reader must be relieved, or there should be a lesson learned. Okay, I'm going to peruse through since it is time. Then we have the don'ts in composition writing. We said do not skip lines anywhere. Do not use subtitles in composition writing. Do not use any short forms or contractions. The don't, didn't, shouldn't. Do not use them. Avoid abbreviations. Informal words, informal vocabulary, informal idioms should not be used. For example, mommy, daddy, guys, buddies. Avoid that. Now then we are saying space your words very well. Do not break words at the margins. Do not replicate stories by copying from storybooks or movies. Write your own original story. And then do not number or outline. There are people who write like they are outlining points in a summary. Every sentence is on its own page, a line. Avoid writing little, write at least 1.5 pages. You have to practice that by now before you sit for your mocks. Punctuate your compositions well and indent direct speech. And then use several paragraphs. Avoid block paragraphing and then write well. Make sure that your handwriting is okay and the words are clearly written. Be careful with spelling of words as their misspellings will attract loss of marks. Starting sentences with the small letters is punishable. And then do not form words from one word, especially myself. That is one word. Cannot is one word. Almost is one word. Something is one word. Without is one word. Everybody is one word. But of course, we have everybody which is joined and one which is disjoined. But the two have different spellings. So we have those words there. The wrong words that you always write wrongly. And we have given you the correct form of those words. So we've got to, those are the words. And of course, we are there. We have some sample questions there. We have some sample questions there. We are about to finish. For functional writing, I will not go so much into details because of time. But one thing that you have to know, Isabella, go to the next slide. One thing about functional writing, we encourage you to master all the functional writing skills. Let them be at your fingertips so that you know what to do. Do not cram things. Just learn the right thing to do. Format, content, and language. Just master what you're supposed to do. Because now the content will depend on the task at hand and also the language that you need to use. We have some of the functional writing skills. You go to the next slide. Make sure that you have all those. Make sure you know all those ones, all those functional writing skills. The letters, we have the formal and informal. And when you read a scenario and the task, you should be able to tell whether you to write a formal or an informal letter. Then we have speeches, we have reports. Reports, there are so many kinds of reports and also speeches. I hope you know all the reports. So the what will determine, the task will determine which kind of report you need to write. Then we have the CV, we have the memorandum, which is commonly known as memo. We have the statement, we have the minute writing, the vote of thanks, giving directions, autobiography, dialogue, telephone conversation, we're writing articles, book review, advertisements, eulogy, announcements, and then we also have the receipt. We have posters, we have circulars, we have emails, questionnaires, notice. I'm trying to read then the article. Those are some that are missing there on that list. And of course, the factual essay, we have the will, we have the book review, we have the inventory, we have the memory biography. So I'm sure that when you have all these ones, you'll be able to go. Then I have some sample scenarios, but due to time and people are complaining, they want to go for supper, it's time for meals. What we have to do now, after that, I think we shall have a closing prayer. Hope you have got the scenario. And of course, someone is asking whether I'm married. I'm a married woman with the children and one husband. Okay. Those ones who need sample papers, maybe you get my contacts, I will be posting them for you. But Teacher Stephen has done good work. He has been posting whatever information he gets on our groups, our holistic groups. And if you're not there, you inbox us so that we add you there, or we send you a link so that you join our holistic platforms. But Teacher Stephen has really done good work. Whatever information he gets, he posts it there. So those ones who need sample papers, maybe your teachers should join such platforms and they can print for you all those papers because he sends for different subjects. I want to thank you so much for attending this facilitation. Thanks for sparing time. Schools that have joined in, it's my prayer that really your candidates make it. Let us have someone to lead us in prayer. Isabella, unmute so that someone can pray.
You are talking. Not yet.
You're in
the paradise.
Yeah. Let's go now.
I don't think we are serious.
Oh, I should open even this way.
Yeah, you get that one.
Yes.
When you can need this.
Students. It was one down.
You didn't. You had to put the. You had to put the method.
That was turn it off. They have not yet chosen him. If they choose.
Do you have someone to pray for us?
Amen.
Let's humble
Okay.
Green?
let's humble ourselves and pray. Let's humble ourselves and pray. Dear loving Father, we glorify you yet, Father, for this new wonderful day, Lord of glory, that you've granted unto us, Lord. Father, we pray, Father, that whatsoever we have received in this session, Lord of glory, shall never depart away from us, Lord of glory. We thank you for the good work, Father, that has been done in this session, and yes, we still hope for more, Father, out of you, Lord of glory. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we prayed and believe.
Amen. Thank you so much. I've taken note of those numbers that want to be added on the group. We shall add you there.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your supper.
Okay. Very good.